Hello, and welcome to the second edition of Not Another F1 blog. This episode was originally going to be about blue flags, but that was blocked due to the use of FOM content. I could have tried to fix this, but first I had to return to university, and then the Japanese Grand Prix happened, so that will be the subject of this episode instead. The blue flag episode may be fixed and re-uploaded at a later date, or it might simply lie gathering dust on my hard drive, never to be seen again. Anyway, the start of the Japanese Grand Prix was quite eventful, with one incident involving Vitaly Petrov and Nico Hülkenberg, followed a few seconds later by a second altercation involving Antonio Liuzzi and Felipe Massa. The highlight of the rest of the race was Kamui Kobayashi's drive to 7th place, which involved overtaking moves on Rubens Barrichello, Nick Heidfeld, and both Toro Rosso drivers. The eventual winner of the race was Sebastian Vettel, followed by Mark Webber, and then Fernando Alonso. However, in this episode I intend to focus on the start line incidents. Almost immediately off the start line, Vitaly Petrov moved to the left, which resulted in a collision with Nico Hülkenberg, eliminating both of them from the race immediately. Petrov later claimed that he had moved to avoid Nick Heidfeld's Sauber. Shortly thereafter, at the first corner, Felipe Massa ran off the track, lost control and crashed into Antonio Liuzzi. Again, both were eliminated from the race on the spot. The two incidents were investigated by the stewards after the race. It was eventually decided that Petrov would be demoted 5 places on the grid for the next racing career, while Massa's incident was judged to be a racing incident and therefore received no penalty. Were these the correct decisions? Unfortunately, I am unable to show any replays of the Petrov incident, as they have all been taken down due to FOM copyright claims, except for a couple that don't show the incident very well at all. From memory though, Petrov had plenty of room elsewhere, and there's no need to move across into Hülkenberg's car to avoid Heidfeld. On that basis, I won't question his penalty. Fortunately, a replay of the Massa incident is available, as this was captured by a fan in the grandstands. From this angle, and from Massa's on-board that has also now been blocked by FOM, it would seem that Felipe Massa was trying a rather desperate lunge into a gap that was always going to disappear. As a result, it seems a bit of a stretch to call it a racing incident, and I probably wouldn't have questioned a 5-place grid drop for Massa had it been given. One thing that could be said against the penalty is that awarding penalties for what are essentially just racing incidents discourages racing and encourages procession trains. Indeed, I myself sometimes use this line in response to others, and I have had it used in response to me in the past. However, I wouldn't use it here, as racing isn't supposed to be about reckless moves that will inevitably lead to a demolition derby. The other thing to remember is that the stewards have a lot more information available to them than I do, such as telemetry and additional camera angles, and that evidence could very well have led the stewards to believe that it was a racing incident. We don't know, and I would certainly like to see more replays before making a final decision on that matter. So, what about the championship situation? With 3 races to go, Mark Webber leads the championship with 220 points. Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel are both 14 points adrift on 206 points each, followed by Lewis Hamilton on 192 points and Jenson Button on 189. With 75 points still to play for, it is still a close race between Alonso and the 2 Red Bull drivers, but McLaren's hopes of one of their drivers becoming world champion appear to be slipping away. Their chances of winning the Constructors' title are also beginning to look remote, as they are now 45 points behind Red Bull, although they should at least be able to secure second place. Is it now time for McLaren and Red Bull to back one of their drivers over the other for the title? In McLaren's case, I would say that it is. They've now fallen so far behind Red Bull's drivers and Fernando Alonso that the last thing they need is for their drivers to take precious points away from each other. If Lewis Hamilton's gearbox does need to be changed for the Korean Grand Prix, then the sensible move would be to back Jenson Button. Otherwise, at this late stage, where McLaren have nothing to lose and everything to gain in the Drivers' Championship, Hamilton's raw pace and 3-point advantage would probably be more useful than Button's consistency. Meanwhile, over at Red Bull, Webber has a 14-point lead, but the momentum is with Vettel, who has outperformed him at each of the past 3 races. Both of them still have a good chance, so in my opinion, it would be less sensible to back either of their drivers at this stage. Unlike McLaren, they have everything to lose, which could be very expensive if the driver whom they choose to back fails to finish in career. The only danger is that they will lose the title to Alonso by taking points away from each other. If this happens, will Alonso's achievement be tainted after what happened in Germany? I wouldn't say so. It isn't sensible to trace title victories to a single mid-season race after the fact. Had Alonso finished second in Germany, then he would have been seen by Red Bull and McLaren as less of a threat in the remaining races, and as a result they would have raced differently. I hope you enjoyed my second episode of Not Another F1 blog. If you have any questions or feedback or your own opinions, then please leave a comment on this video. I'd love to hear them. Please stay tuned for part 3, which will probably be about Lewis Hamilton crashing into the main grandstand during free practice at the Korean Grand Prix, causing it to fall down and forcing the race to take place several hundred miles north in Kim Jong-il's back garden instead. Until then though, that's it. Have a nice day.